Welcome to the podcast, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time, a Kessler's family production. In this episode, we discuss the financial services industry, being a young entrepreneur, and writing a book. Our guest today is Caleb Guilliams, CEO of Better Wealth Solutions. Caleb is a 22-year-old entrepreneur who founded Better Wealth Solutions. He earned a Bachelor in Business Finance from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point while working full-time as a financial life specialist at a local bank. Caleb's specialty is non-traditional financial planning, utilizing alternative investments and other creative strategies. His enthusiasm and drive were on full display in our chat. His actions prove he is always in learning mode. And with so much to talk about, let's get right into this episode and welcome Caleb Guilliams. Caleb, so you walk into a meeting looking like you are someone's grandson, and there you are with insurance agents and attorneys that are probably 30, 40, 50 years your senior. How do you handle that?
That's a great question, Eric. One of the things that I keep telling myself, and this is what was told to me when I took over at 18, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you give me 5 minutes easily, people know that I care a lot. And then usually I call it the 10-minute of horror when people are like, I'm actually listening to this kid that looks like he's 12. But it's amazing when you care, and then you're also able to back up and share with people things that are really, really valuable as it relates to their wealth. And it's one of those things where the first couple of times was, I'll be completely frank, it was awful. But at the end of the day, I look back and now it's not as big of an issue because of the confidence, and I truly care for people. So as cliche as that sounds, those are the two things that I'm equipped with as I walk in and try to help someone.
Yeah, well, you're talking from the heart. It's funny too, when I was getting started, I was already in business, but when I got my first break and started to get in some bigger, got into a bigger position and bigger meetings, you kind of second guess yourself. You walk in there, you're like, wow, what are they going to listen to someone who's in their mid to late 20s? And you realize quickly that if you do care and if you are speaking from the heart, and then on top of that, you have knowledge, or you have a team of people at least behind you that can support you, that has the knowledge, the analytics, or whatever it is, it really does make a difference. And then you continue to grow. Like you just said, it might be awful at first. You might make mistakes, but having all of those people, I always looked at people that were older. They were all in the same position that you're in, or that you were in before. And I remember when I was younger, when people didn't give me the time of day, that I would never do that to the person that was genuine on the other side when I got older. And I think you're playing that out, today for yourself. And
one of the things that I've learned, we could do a whole podcast on this, is the value of questions. Like asking good questions is something that I think is super, super valuable, something I'm continuing to learn. But that's another thing that I equip myself with when I kind of walk in.
Oh, yeah. See, what happens is when we talk to a lot of business owners, obviously, we're into entrepreneurs and everything that they're doing. And this is nothing against a business owner. I'm one myself, but business owners and entrepreneurs love to talk about their business. So if you ask them questions, the person on the other end doesn't really have to talk a lot. And that's not a bad thing, because now they're becoming an active, they're a question asker, an active listener, and that's a positive. And I remember people say, a salesperson would go out there and they didn't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You can ask a question. So you are saying something. You're simply asking the question and letting the other person talk. Again, all of it comes down to being genuine. So there's the disingenuous side of it, where I can ask questions, I can manipulate you to do something. That's not what we're talking about, obviously. But I think you're spot on. So it's impressive for me to hear you at your young age to have this insight into business and into people, because that's really all it is, right? It is just relationships that you've gotten into. So well done by you to find it at such an early age. And here you are in this business, the insurance industry, at a young age. And there's so many people we talk to that they stay out of the insurance industry because that's not the sexy industry to get into. If you're going to get in the insurance, well, just might as well take one more step and go into financial services and become not stockbroker. They don't call it that anymore. But why insurance, and why now?
That is another good question. I believe it or not was on the same path. The goal was for me to get my insurance license, get my securities license, and help people when it comes to investing, because I always knew at a young age I wanted to be in the money business, because I just loved it. Like the thought that our money could work for us was just something that I could never like shake. And so the goal was like, I was like going to get licensed and going to start a financial planning firm. And what I realized is life insurance, because that's what I really specialize in. Life insurance, when set up and used properly, is literally one of the greatest foundational wealth, bases that someone could have. And it's not just for the protection, which is very, very important, but it's also to help someone use it throughout their life. And so I ended up kind of stumbling on accident, but what I realized is, why were a lot of the corporations, banks, the wealthy of this country, why did they love life insurance so much? And why did most people in general hate life insurance? There was probably something that they knew that we didn't. And that's what kind of got me on this road. I don't know, we've talked about this before, but obsession is another thing. I think if you want to be successful, you have to be obsessed. And I just became obsessed about learning what these people were doing. And I realized that what life insurance, when set up and used properly, was one of the greatest places to save, use your money, and then pass it on. And it was kind of all in this one kind of package. And so that's kind of, instead of being more general, I wanted to be the best in a couple areas. And so that's kind of why I'm in this business. But I didn't wake up at 14 years old and be like, I want to do this the rest of my life. It was really off the mission of helping people see and reach their highest potential. And I think I can have the greatest impact by sharing what I know, and being really, really good at it.
Yeah, no one ever picks the life insurance industry. I haven't heard that story yet. So no, I think that's cool that you came across this thing and wanted to learn more about it, took it, and then you said the word obsessed. And then obviously there's passion behind it and excitement and enthusiasm. And I've always said, if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not really work. You just enjoy what you're doing. So reading about it, to many people, it's like you couldn't think of anything more boring. But to someone who's truly into it, I mean, that's what you live and learn. So of course you have this energy about you that you are excited, you are enthusiastic about it. And so you're going to continue down that path. And you have that ultimate feeling of helping other people. And there's a lot of confusion in the insurance industry, or from the consumer side of things, that most insurance agents are there to rip you off. And I think every industry has it. They have the bad people that are taking advantage of consumers, and that's unfortunate. But here you are trying to make it right. Does that go in your head, like when you see like, hey, there's people that are much older than I, and they are in many ways taking advantage. You want to make this industry better.
Yeah, and it literally boils my blood. And you and I both know this. There's, in every industry, there's people taking advantage of others, and yes, I very much think we have a huge responsibility, whether you're selling life insurance or whatever you're doing, is to put yourself in the client's shoes. And I always do the grandma test. It's like, would I recommend my grandma to do this? And it's amazing when you break down family. Like, we tend to the very best for our family, and why should that change with anyone that walks through our doors or who we meet with? And so, yeah, I'm just totally echoing what you're saying.
Yeah. So you have all these thoughts, you have a passion, you have a knowledge of it, you want to help, you look younger, but how are you? And we touched on this at the beginning, and you have to get yourself in front of people. What has been recently, that is, what's been the main way you've been able to put yourself in front of the people that you need to be talking to about the business that you want to be working on?
So this is going to be a really unique answer, and you're not going to hear this from a lot of people. But when I got into business at 18, I was told, get a list of people and, sit down, have a meeting with them and ask for 3 referrals. And I remember like hearing that and being like, okay, I definitely don't want to do that. And by the way, that's how most of us grow businesses. But I remember thinking to myself, like, that just doesn't seem like a good long-term solution. And reading Think and Grow Rich at the time, and which is a great book, by the way. If you should definitely read it, listen to it if you haven't. And one of the ideas was Napoleon Hill dedicated a portion of his life to learning. He didn't make any money technically learning, but he learned from the best and was, really wealthy because of that. And I was thinking, I'm young. I have so much to learn. What if I give up, in quotation marks, what if I give up 2 years of my life and work and try to become obsessed by learning, not selling? Now, I did sell. I did close some deals. I did help some people, but I probably left a lot of money on the table. But what I did was I called off, I read books, called authors, went on, the websites, called the owners, and tried to learn everything I could about these strategies. And because I looked like I was 13 years old, I would, could travel and I could shadow different people. And at the end of 2 years, I had a conviction that if people understood what I knew about X, in this case, how life insurance could be used, I knew that there would be a line outside the door. And so then I took that and I went to and built strategic partnerships. And so I just authored a book. I have my own podcast as well. We have a websites that have e-courses, and then I have other people that are licensed in the business that I do joint work with. And it's crazy. If you would have said, Eric, if you would have told me at 22 that people that were much more experienced would be doing joint work with me, I would have thought you were crazy. But the reason is because I took time to really, really learn the craft. And so that's kind of a long answer, but that's kind of how I get business is I'm really, people see what we're doing now and are maybe impressed, but it took 3 years to get there.
Well, I think a long answer was necessary there because it shows the process that you went through to get to where you are. So there was this learning process that you went through, but then it is you putting yourself out there. So you talk about writing a book, having a website, right, having conversations with people, showing up again, and then people saying, somehow getting out to where now people want to have those conversations with you. You picking up the phone right, or sending emails to authors of books that you've read. There's information. People right, are accessible. Yeah, you're not going to get everybody on the phone or on an email to reply to you, but if you do it enough times, we always wonder, people in sales will say, I don't have anyone to talk to. Well, it's not that always the direct, you didn't look at it like, I'm going to go find the first person, the 100 people I need to call on and go and sell them something. I know nothing about this business, but let me sell you something. Correct. Yeah, that's not a good deal. I can tell you that already. But you are making these connections in a different way and building yourself and having conversations, maybe not with the person you need to sell, but with the person that's going to help you think about this even better. And it was very strategic. We talked about this before. My business partner, Shane Snively, he's called the strategy addict for a reason. He's the guy on the whiteboard putting strategies together. He's thinking through things that just people don't think through. It's not that easy. It's not for everybody. Now here I am listening right, to you. I'm like, what you're telling me is not normal for a 22-year-old most of the time, again, generally speaking, to think about. And it's very impressive to hear that, right, to see that. Well, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm not going to make any excuses, and we'll get to that question later. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm going to call the author up of this book and ask a question, or at least try to. And if I don't get an answer, oh well. Yeah. And so I think it was important. Yeah, go for it.
And one of the important things to realize, if someone reaches out to you, you're gonna get back to them. They might have to reach out a couple times because we're busy. I'm the same way. And I think a lot of times people think people are more busy than they really are. And granted, we're busy, but since I've been given so much, I kind of have value of I want to give back. And that's one of the things that I've been blown away. Our business, the insurance industry, I've had a really good actually experience of people giving of their time. And that's one thing that I hope people don't take for granted.
Where did this all come from? So you're 18 to 22 and this whole process you've been down, and you've grown so much just in those 4 years, and obviously you're going to continue to grow. It sounds like you're a constant learner. Where does this drive come from? Is this just when you were 13, 14 years old that you just wanted to constantly learn and you like picking up books? Where did you get it from?
Right. So give you a little backstory is my first job, I literally gutted chickens. And I do have a weird personality of like loving what I do. And so I'm like working at a chicken farm, getting paid $1 for chicken I process. Hopefully this is not too graphic, but I like, so I'm making pretty good money. And I'm like, I love work because I just like, I'm so competitive just in my personality. And I just love being at a job where we can make, you know, we're not just paid hourly. Like if we work hard, we can actually get paid more. But then I'm making money and I'm living at home and, you know, and so I'm like, man, what am I going to do with this money? And so I read the book Richest Man in Babylon, and like I would put it as a must read for people like and by the way, if you have excuse like you don't like reading, I'm dyslexic. So reading is very, very tough for me, and I've learned to get over that, but I've also listened to a lot of books and podcasts. That's why I love that you guys have a podcast, because I've just learned from hearing authors speak, but like hearing audiobooks. And I actually did read this Richest Man in Babylon. And so I started like at 15, 16 years old. I'm like, okay, wow. Like reading nonfiction books, like that's where I really got my real education. And then I read the book Good to Great, which has nothing to do with money, but has everything to do with like business. And at 16 years old, I was like, you know what? I want to be a leader of a Fortune 500 company. So with that paradigm, I kept on working hard. I saved money. I was always interested in how money works. And then I read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about having the end in mind, you know, keeping the end in mind. And that's when I wrote a mission statement for myself. And so at 18 years old, I wrote a mission statement that I want to live by. And it went like this: help people see and reach their highest potential. And so the reason I'm so passionate is I realize that so many people are not able to live their God-given potential, sadly, because of money. It breaks my heart saying that, but a lot of people are literally not able to live their purpose, their passion, because they have money. And so I thought, if we can help take that excuse out of the game and show people that they can use the resources in their own life to live that potential, the world's going to be a better place. And so the reason I'm passionate is, you know, I love the business that I'm in, but it's not like I love writing insurance policies. Like that doesn't like, I'm not that weird, right. But I love what that can do for people. And I truly, truly believe someone's able to be more in control of their life and help more people if I do my job well. And so I would be as crazy to say if I didn't do what I would do this and do it well, there's a lot more people that are going to be hurting, not just myself. Yeah,
well, you're very clear on what you wanted, obviously at a young age, and you continue to have the end in mind, like you just said. Like it's not about the actual writing the insurance policy; it's about what that actually means at the end of the day. That's the bigger picture here. But to have clarity into what it is that you do, and people will make excuses, but he's got this clear vision, and he's real young, and he doesn't have a lot of head trash right now. Well, everyone's got it. Yeah, they do. Yeah, he does. Because you could have friends who are like, man, let's go out tonight. What are we doing? Let's go watch the game and hang out. You know, and I'm not saying you can't still do that. You can still have balance or alignment in your life and do all those different things. And, you know, there's just always time to have an excuse. You know, you could have multiple kids like I have, and you could have a house, or you could have this, or you have other obligations that you have to hit, but then you have to have priorities and clear vision. And like what you said before is you had an end. You had a clear vision of what you were doing. And then you went out there and just executed on it every day, and by no means have fulfilled everything that you've ever done because you're still working on it. You're still learning it. One of the things that I've learned, and this is the big thing that I've learned since 18 to where I am now at the old age of 22, is people, like I used to think when people walked in the office, I needed to educate them on the product. You know, this, because if you understood how life insurance worked, you would want to put as much money in as possible. But what I realized is, just like what I realized, it's like I'm not in the business just to write policies. I'm in the business of helping people reach their highest potential, is get our clients to be really clear on what they want. You know, they're not in the business of making more money or being more efficient with money or being in more control of money, even though that's what we sell, but they're in the business of having more time with family or building a business or figure out that why. And then everything that we do with money has to back up that why. It doesn't matter if one product is technically better if it doesn't help you get closer to why you're doing what you're doing. That's the thing that I just started doing like this year.
and it's transformed my business because we're no longer a commodity. We're helping people accomplish what they actually want to accomplish. And that took me longer than I would like to admit to figure out.
But that's okay that it takes you longer. Like you had a longer answer before. I think those are important pieces of it. And I think what you're saying too is when you make a decision, if you have your priorities set, when you make that decision becomes easier. And I think a lot of people struggle. I know I struggle with it, right? Making a big decision. It's not easy. And as you get older and you have bigger decisions, right? Because decisions, in fact, you could have a team of people working for you and a decision could affect that entire team. How do you make that decision? You can grapple with it. But when you have your priorities set, and like you said before, when you know that why, and whatever that why happens to be, and your why is different than someone else's why, that decision becomes easier because then you can just execute on it and move forward and not look back. Does that sum up a lot of what you're saying in a different way?
100%. Yeah. It's a great summary.
So you talked about, you wrote a book. Again, you've done all these different things.
Yep.
And I laugh because it's like you're very accomplished at such a young age. And, a lot of people are writing books and you can self-publish books and maybe it's not what it is meant to be. And a lot of people are like, oh, he wrote a book. Anyone can write a book. No, I don't think so. I think there is a lot of books being out there, but not a lot of books are great. You write a book. Why did you write a book? Let's start there.
Yeah. Another good question. The reason I wrote a book is I had this belief, and I still have this belief, that if people understand what I know about money, there'll be a line outside the door. So I really don't think at the end of the day that we need to convince someone to do this, And so I also had the pleasure of learning from some amazing people. But another thing that I learned was a lot of the smartest people weren't necessarily the most successful because they had all this head knowledge, but they weren't able to communicate it. And another one of my favorite quotes is, the solutions that you find your weaknesses growing up become your greatest strengths. So because I had a hard time learning growing up, I made things really simple so that I could understand. And so I'm learning from all these people, and I have an understanding. It took me longer to figure it out, but now that I understand, I have a gift of being able to simplifying it for other people. And so in the process of writing this book, I had this company. We work with people all around the country and help them apply these strategies. And I was like, you know what? People ask, what do you do? And we're having meetings and we're explaining all this. What if we could have a book that laid this out, and it's better for our clients because they can have time to look at it, and it could be something that we give them, and for people to even find us because they might read the book and like it. But then it will also help me with my message get clear on what we're actually doing. And so the book is really laid out into 3 sections. I really lay out that efficiency really matters as it relates to your money. Compound interest is this 8th wonder that a lot of people aren't getting because they're not getting lifelong compound interest. And then finally, the importance of control. And so I lay out kind of creatively Albert Einstein's famous equation of E = MC squared and kind of call that our wealth equation. You want your money to be maximum efficiency and have compounding and control, and all 3 of those things, you're really going to be set. And then I talk about the controlled compounding strategy. That's something that we teach at our company. And then I talk about the master account, which is my way of explaining the special type of contract that we use when it comes to life insurance. And so it lays out wealth principles, talk about the why, but then we also get into the strategies. And I wrote it, first of all, just for myself to get more clear on the mission. But then I realized real quickly that having a book is one of the greatest leverage points, because now I can be in multiple, and I'm using air quotes, meetings without actually physically being there. I can influence a lot more people by not spending more time. Even though it took a lot of time to write the book, now it's kind of exponential. And so those are the reasons why I wrote the book. And yeah,
all good reasons. Writing it for yourself, first of all, I think is a huge deal, because you're trying to get clear in your own head, and then you realize that other people can get use out of this. And it's like you said before, you're not trying to convince the unconvincible. You are putting something out there that you strongly believe in. It's not like you're trying to sell something. You're not trying to commoditize it. I know you stated this before, and I'm just kind of restating it, but I think it can't be stated enough. Those 2 things of don't be a commodity, because there's a lot of that going on right now. And
correct.
Yeah, I want to stay there for a second of not being a commodity. in the insurance industry, and I think this is more important than even the second point I was going to make, in the insurance industry, and you talked about this before as well, is the product aspect. So many people are pitching a product. Mm-hmm. It's an issue in this industry because, well, what's the value of the agent if all we're talking about is products? And it's a problem going forward. I don't know where it leads to, but here you come. We've differentiated ourselves in this industry, but we can continue to do it, and we continue to refine ourselves. And we run into people like, well, we're going to continue doing it because it's the way we've done it for the last 20 or 30 years. Okay, you continue to do that as the industry changes very fast and as it's trying to be disrupted by outside people in the technology world and all that. How do you see it playing out, coming at it from an angle of you haven't been in this industry for 20 years or 10 years, and here you come not trying to disrupt the industry because you're trying to do it your own way. How do you see the future of the insurance industry? Because you're approaching it very different because you come out with a book, right? And you're not trying to convince, that was the other point, you're not trying to convince the unconvincible. People are going to line up and want to talk to you. People might not like what you say either, right? But that's okay because you can't simply help every single person out there. You're not going to get along with them all. But going back to that insurance industry thing that we're dealing with and the future of this business and coming at it from a standpoint of you're new to this game, you're new to the business. What are you seeing going on?
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to communicate the whys and figure out what our clients actually want to accomplish long term, because the products might change, companies might change, but the where we're trying to go won't. And so one of the things that I got really frustrated with, and that's one thing I appreciate about companies like yourself, is you really help advisors, get really clear on the product, because it's really important. But if you're spending all your time trying to focus on the product, you can lose, it just takes so much time, and it's so frustrating. And so one of the things that we have gotten really, really clear is figure out what we're trying to accomplish, and then go and look at today, what do we have access to that will help our clients get to where we want to go? And the product's important, but we no longer are shopping every product every month to see what's the absolute best, because it's kind of in my book, I talk about course swing. Okay. A lot of people in golf, you can have a great club, but that doesn't make you a great golfer. And so if we can help people and take commodities out of it, if we can help people with the process or the swing, then they'll be a better golfer. And then if we get them the best product, then they're in the best position. And so I don't know if that is your question, but products are really, really important. But I think the people that are planning for, helping their clients figure out solutions are going to be best long-term, not trying to sell them a product, because products will come and go.
Yeah, no, I think you said it great, because you just used a sports analogy, and that's what we talk about on sportsepreneur.com, is the golf analogies of how you can relate the two, sports and business and life and all that kind of stuff. No, I love it. And I think that's right, because we talk to a lot of business owners, and a lot of times, this is, again, generally speaking, business owners want to talk about their products and their services and whatever that's a part of that. And that's great. That's very important. You almost can't even be in business if you don't have a good product or a good service, right? But it's before that. It's before you get to that part, because then if you can combine the before, the story, the message, the what it is you're all about with a good product or a good service, now that's the good thing. That's where it can all come together, like you just said. Now you're doubling down and you're winning. And you can't beat that. That's, like you said, the golf swing and the golf club. You can't have one without the other. And so I think that's an important piece of it. So the industry's obviously changing. You're creating books. You're disrupting this business. I'm excited to chat with someone like yourself that's out here doing things differently. You've mentioned a few people already. You've mentioned a few books. That was certainly a question I want to get. Some influences in your life that's gotten you to this point. You've mentioned the books. Who else is an influence in your life? Because it sounds like you have a very upbeat personality, an ambitious personality. Why you're surrounding yourself with these types of people as well? Who are some of these people that you're surrounding yourself with? So
one of the biggest blessings that I have is my family's incredible. They didn't teach me much about money, but they really taught me. My dad taught me to be proactive. And so at a young age, like when I would work with him, I would get in trouble if I just stood around. And Eric, I used to hate working with my dad. So that was one thing that I'm grateful for. Another thing is I read the Bible, and I feel like there's a lot I learned, whether you believe in it, back on, and a lot of wisdom there. Think Rich, I try to read every year. That's a book that I think could literally change your life if you start applying things in that. And I would look at leaderboards. I would look at where do you want to go? And I would cold call people that I wanted to trade places with. And one person I want to just name drop. His name's John Noel, and he's not in our business, but he's sold 2 companies. He's very, very successful and lives in the town that I live in. And I wanted to become his friend. I wanted him to influence my life. And so at 18 years old, I found a way to get on his calendar, sat down with him. At the end of introducing myself and asking him questions, I asked him if I could meet with him on a monthly basis. And he said yes. And so that one relationship, I could look back and say, I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't for his influence on my life. And that happened because he was where I wanted to run a business someday, and he's done it twice and had, and so those are kind of the couple things that I look back on is that have just really played a huge role in my life. And so,
yeah, what an idea, right?
Yeah.
To reach out to the person that you think might help you out, grow your career, grow your business. So I think that's amazing. Well, I appreciate, Caleb, everything that you've shared with us. I think it helped anybody. I think it helped anybody, whether they're young in the career like you are, or someone who's in the middle of it, or someone in the later stages. And there's so many different things that I can apply to what I'm doing, to learning even from someone like yourself. So I keep up this amazing work. What I want to do now is go into some quick question, quick answer stuff, if that's okay with you, and then ask you one final question from there and let you out of here. Does that sound good?
I love it.
All right,
yep.
Let's do it. So if you weren't in the insurance and financial services industry doing what you're doing now, what career would you be in?
I'd be in real estate investing.
All right, so you're in social media now. What is the one social media app that you like the most for business? Oh,
that's a good question. Can I give a two-part answer?
You can answer however you want.
Okay, I think Instagram for people that are young I love it because it's really easy to follow the journey. I'm getting most of my clients from LinkedIn. So I'm playing Instagram long-term, follow the journey. I think LinkedIn is that's how we connected. Yeah. One of the greatest business platforms out there.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny too. I'm glad you said that. How did we connect? It's funny because it's a long story, but we had some ties on our insurance business. We're tied with this great insurance company, and saw your name and looked you up on LinkedIn and said something about podcasting and saw your picture and your story a little bit. And I was like, this is interesting. So we reached out and you connected back, and here we go. So people always wonder, like, does social media work? Yeah, it does. We've actually connected with amazing people on all the different social platforms, not just LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. I mean, it can work if you're, again, this goes back to what we talked about before. If you really care and if you have a heart in this and you're genuine about it, then it can work. Yeah, if you're manipulative about it, yeah, I guess you could work for the short term, but that's something you're going to have to deal with in the long term. So I'm glad you said that is how we met and how we've connected. We've had a lot of great conversations. We like surrounding ourselves with positive, exciting people that are doing different things, and that's why we continue to talk, and hopefully we'll continue to do that. Into something else that we touched on a little bit before. You use a sports analogy, which I just loved, right? Sportsepreneur and all that stuff. If I were to right now only allow you to root for one sports team for the rest of your life, and it could be any sport, any league, what sports team would that be?
Green Bay Packers, not even close.
There you go. Well, they've had quite some success over the years, and always had a good quarterback. Being a Bills fan, I'm just jealous because you guys go from Favre to Aaron Rodgers. And the Bills, I don't know if they'll ever find another quarterback.
Yeah, we take a lot for granted, and our quarterbacks are.
A great fan base. You hear nothing but amazing things about Lambeau Field. Obviously, it's a place that I need to get to at some point, but obviously a fun team to root for. And I don't think anyone can really dislike the Packers, but being a true fan of them, I know many of them, and they're all good people. So, good team to have on your side. Okay, but I'm gonna ask you one last question, then I'll get you out of here. When was the moment you told yourself you need to make it happen, and you gave yourself no excuses?
When I went to Guatemala for a mission trip, and I realized that if I could run a successful business, make a lot of money, I could not only help people that we're helping, our clients, help people that come work with me on my team, but then we could actually make more money so that we could help people that are really, really in need. And that it was that and my mission statement that kind of came together, that I realized that I have to be successful, not just for myself, but for a lot of people that could benefit because of it.
Caleb, I can't say this is a motivational podcast or inspirational podcast, but I would say in many respects, I'd like it to be, because I want to help entrepreneurs and do all that kind of stuff. And having someone like you on here with an answer like that, all the stuff that you've been through and have done, and the way you're leading your company and yourself, and very clear on your mission, it's been very motivational and very inspiring. And I appreciate you sharing time with us and giving us all the information that of all the stuff that you're doing and will be doing and we'll be watching. So I really appreciate you spending time with us.
And
yeah.
Eric, I'm so impressed with your company and what you can offer other advisors. And like, I just, again, it's been such a pleasure to be connected. I can't wait to just grow as our companies grow together. And if there's anything that I can do for you, please reach out, because I know for a fact being associated with you is a very, very good idea. So thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And I look forward to future conversations.
Well, very kind words, and we appreciate it. Likewise. Caleb, what's the best way people can get a hold of you?
So my business website is betterwealthsolutions.com. And that's where you can reach out to me. You can get, we're giving away books at cost. So my book is called The And Asset. And you can find that on Amazon, or you can go to our website and get pretty much a free copy. And that's the best way to get me. You obviously, any social media, Caleb Guilliams, I'm on LinkedIn, and then you can follow my crazy journey on Instagram at Caleb Guilliams. So you can pretty much get a hold of me in a lot of different
somewhere
places.
Yeah, that's the beauty of social media. They're always out there. So, well, Caleb, like I said before, thank you so much for spending the time. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Caleb, it has been absolutely awesome having you on this podcast. From telling our listeners how you made it happen at such a young age to your thoughts on the financial services industry, we are all better off from the time we spent with you. The perspectives from Caleb on his no-excuse mentality are now perspectives you as the entrepreneur can use for yourself. And for that, Caleb, thank you. And for anyone looking to talk to Caleb about entrepreneurship, his book, or his business, we encourage you to reach out to him. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn or contact me on Twitter and Instagram at Eric_Kaz. Thank you for listening to our CazSource podcast, Entrepreneur Perspectives, building and protecting your business one podcast at a time. Until next time, we're out of here.
This podcast exists in large part because of CazCM, the content marketing business inside CazSource Inc. CazCM is excited to bring the content marketing services used at CazSource to you. Learn more by visiting CazCM.com. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It's a big deal to us. We hope you found value in it, and if you did, we would be incredibly grateful if you gave us a review on iTunes. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and feel free to share it with anyone you know. More than anything, thank you again for listening. We appreciate it.